Based on past performance, SCHD is a fantastic ETF for dividend investors. But what about the future? With trouble in the banking sector and SCHD recently updating its holdings, we need to dive in and figure out if our investments are at risk. To really get a good understanding of the situation, we need to know how the fund managers pick the ETF's holdings. This information is coming from the Seeking Alpha article written by psychoanalyst titled SCHD's Annual Reconstruction Ignores Severe Deterioration in Financial Sector Health. Here are the key points. In 2011, when SCHD was first created, the holdings were based on a larger index consisting of stocks that paid a dividend for 10 years. These stocks were given a score based on 4 criteria. Those were average dividend growth over the past 5 years, free cash flow to total debt, return on equity, and expected forward yield. The 100 stocks that scored the highest made it into the ETF. Every year, SCHD goes through an annual reconstruction using the same technique. But there's 2 key differences. First, any stock that is already in the index is allowed to remain in the index if its ranking is in the top 200 stocks after scoring based on the same 4 criteria we mentioned earlier. And if there are no longer 100 stocks in the index, after the stocks that remain in the top 200 stocks are accounted for, the highest ranking new stocks that made it into the top 100 are added. Now, I know that might have been a little confusing, but here's what you need to know. The stocks in SCHD are picked on formulas, which means that recent concerns about the banking sector might not be fully accounted for. Should we be worried? Of course we should be worried. Banking failures affect us all. But given recent events, governments seem like they're willing to step in to make investors whole and provide some trust in the system. From my understanding, the reason why SVB failed was because of high interest rates, combined with their specific positions in bonds, combined with a bank run. As safe as bonds can be, this seems like it's a problem for smaller, more regional banks, but we don't know the full extent of the situation just yet. Now, of course, that doesn't help calm the fear that investors might have, so a bank run is still a real concern. Now that we've identified the weak points, let's see how exposed SCHD is now to smaller banks, regional banks, and larger banks as well. I went through SCHD's holdings and picked out any stock that was even remotely related to banking. My screening process might be different from yours, so if your list is different than mine, let me know in the comment section down below. I didn't include investment management companies, payment processors, and companies that transfer money or do payroll. That leaves us with a list of 28 stocks that have some exposure to banking directly. The total percentage of all the companies that I identified that could be at risk for a larger issue in banking totaled 6.94% of SCHD's total holdings. Overall, I think the fact that SCHD's holdings are based on calculations rather than assumptions, speculation, fear, thoughts, opinions, etc. is a benefit more than a liability. No one knows the future, and I personally am sticking with my investment in SCHD for the long term. Historically, the markets have shown us that it always seems to work out in the long run, and 6.94% of overall holdings, in my opinion, that are at risk is not really worth me panic selling for. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor, this is not financial advice, but if you found value in this video, go ahead and click that like button, subscribe for more money, finance, and crypto content. I appreciate your time, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.